Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checkered TV's coverage of the Dark Horse Area 51 IndyCar Series. We are here this week at the Magic Mile as the season comes to a close. Only a few races left before we crown our season champion at Indianapolis. Going to be lots of excitement still going on throughout the season, so be sure to tune into this week. And I believe next week will actually be our last race of the season, and it'll just be me solo here tonight here at Green White Checker TV. Wait, nope, just kidding. Sorry, Gael, I didn't see you standing there. We've actually got Gael Brooks in the booth with me tonight. How are you doing tonight, Gael?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I was lurking over your shoulder, trying to see if I could sneak up on you there. But you're right though. Say it's somehow come down to the end of the season here already. Say finish it off with this race here. That I say very similar design tracks, but very different racing tracks here. The 1 mile at Loudon, New Hampshire, and then like I said, finish it off next week at Indianapolis. And yeah, it's gonna be fun to see what these guys have. A smaller field here tonight. I say that's kind of getting towards holiday season. Halloween's not too far away, and of course, I think the championship hunt, when you kind of start to get eliminated, I think it kind of chases a few people away. But obviously, the big hitters are here tonight. Nick DeGroot is here, Craig Forsyth is here, Jeff Heisong, the top three in the points. So they're gonna try to get the most that they can tonight to try to see if they can get themselves into that top spot going into next week. And again, 12 race season, no playoffs, just the one drop week as well. So that could come into play as well to maybe who can knock out their one worst race.
Yeah, definitely a lot of action to be had, and I apologize at the beginning for my stupid attempt at a joke there, but I always appreciate having you with me here, Gael Brooks. Gonna be fun, like you said. Obviously, really a lot of it is going to come down to a few drivers here in the championship, so we do have a bit of a short field tonight, but Nick DeGroot currently a 20-point lead over Jeff Heisong through 10 races after last week at Michigan International Speedway. Craig Forsyth is a little bit further off the lead by about 50 points back, so pretty much a two-horse race, and Nick DeGroot, I believe, looking for his third or his fourth straight championship here, Gael.
So I'm pull that stat up because that's a very good question as how many he's had in a row. Because yeah,
I,
I mean Nick,
Either way,
he's
it's
a
impressive.
monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'll say I'm gonna go and see season two. We'll go to our standings for 2022, and yeah, Nick DeGroot able to get Andrew Wood by 19 points for the 2022 season two championship. And we'll look at 2022 season one, the beginning kickoff the year, and dominant win, 66 points over Craig Forsyth, getting that one. Then let's go back to 2021 here. So while these guys are putting down their qualifying laps, let's see for 2021 season three. And it will be actually Henry Bennett was able to beat Nick by 4 points there. So you're right. So if he can win the title here next week at Indy, it would be three championships in a row for that number 89 machine.
Yeah, it'll be all season long, or all year long, I should say, for all three seasons if he can pull that off. But there's still plenty of time left. Obviously, you can still make up or lose 20 points within 2 weeks, so Nick still has to protect that lead and make sure he can keep those bonus points over Jeff Heisong as much as possible. So we're just about finished here with qualifying. Got about 14 seconds left. There's two, I believe, that aren't going to elect to take a time. But we'll pull the grid up here once the session advances, and we'll be looking at 130 laps here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Anything under a mile or so really usually is more of a short track feel for these IndyCar drivers. They're going to be running sub 22, 23-second laps here. I mean, it is absolutely insane how quick these cars here are with all that downforce.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're going to see kind of the big spoilers on the back of these cars here tonight. It's like the kind of the higher downforce package. So yeah, these guys are going to be going after it here tonight. It looks like qualifying has just completed. And talk about our championship contenders here, Boomer SAC right there, front row, are first and second in the points.
Yeah, we have on the pole Nick DeGroot, our current points leader, with Jeff Heisong, our current points runner-up, starting in second place. about a hundredth or a tenth of a second between the two of them here on this short track. Jim Herrick will take over that third spot with Dan Marrera to his outside. Craig Forsyth, currently third in the championship standings, finds himself starting in the top 5 tonight with Matt Wagner to his outside to complete row number 3. Eric Peterson will start in row number 7 with Gary Corley to his outside. And our last 2 qualifying times for tonight would be Joseph Morales in 9th and William Gunn to round out the top 10. Luis Gonzalez Nunez and Christian Alacio will join the grid without taking a qualifying time tonight.
Yeah, so and I think I want to say Luis Gonzalez may have just popped in just before qualifying finished up there. So good to see him over here. However, he's gonna have to kind of get to terms with the track really quickly because say of course you and I, Boomer, are very familiar with the stock car side of things here at Loudon, but with these Indy cars, you really want to run the upper grooves at this place. So I say it's going to be very tough to pass. Almost, I say for those that do watch stock car, almost like the Lucas Oil Raceway, where the preferred groove is kind of towards the middle to top. So passing is going to be at a premium here. So I think that pole position by Nick DeGroot was definitely important. Of course, also that extra bonus point just to go with it. So it's going to be all about maximizing your race here tonight, minimizing those mistakes. And yeah, as we talk about always, though, I think they're going to have to try to work on trying to just make that pit strategy here tonight.
Definitely going to have to work on that strategy, as passing is going to be a premium and very, very hard to do. Track position a premium, I should say there. But it's going to be exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to this tonight. Obviously, quite a bit of points battles to be had. Even though it is a short field, there's still going to be plenty of excitement. You know, we've seen a lot of these short track races over the years, over the season and years, really have been sometimes a caution fest. You know, it is very tight racing at very fast speeds at a very small speedway. Obviously, 1 mile, not necessarily a short track in the stock car world, but definitely so here in the IndyCar world. There really isn't that much of a draft or a tow here, but you really have to focus on being fast as you can. And it's definitely going to be a 1-lane track. The higher grooves, that second or third lane, really probably going to come in, and we'll have to see how drivers can manage that. And yeah, we'll see how that action. We'll take you through that action as the night goes on, but we're going to look to see Nick DeGroot. He is going to lead us down to the initial green flag start. They are underway, 130 laps here at the Dark Horse Area 51 IndyCar Series at Loudon.
Yeah, good start there for Nick, able to jump a little bit ahead. But however, say right on the back, though, is that 18 of Jeff Heisong. Going to try to keep the pressure on right away here. So I think it's a good call, but they got to be careful. As a little bobble look like there by the 18. Able to hold on to it, though, so he's going to hang on to that second spot. But again, they got to let the tires pressures build up on these cars, and then I think they can start getting a little more aggressive. But quickly, the field's, like I said, spreading out, single filing out a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. These guys are sometimes running the third, fourth lane even. Obviously, that last turn 1 and 2, we saw Jeff Heisong go outside of the that concrete patch on the inside. Definitely pretty aggressive on the outside early on, but now running the third lane there. And it's crazy to see how fast these guys are coming off of the corners there. That wall definitely comes up really quick, and these cars can get really tight, especially when you're racing behind somebody in that dirty air.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it's gonna be the story about the dirty air, who can keep their car kind of in a good spot but keep their pace up. Of course, as I said, that Nick runs a pretty low line there through 1 and 2. I honestly expect him to run a little higher than he did, but yeah, so far though, he looks like he's doing a really big arc there, going just about to that first dotted line there. You can see, which I think is probably about the lowest you want to run these cars. But yeah, right now everybody's kind of, like I said, kind of spaced out a fair bit here. It's a couple tenths of a second apart from one another. Right now, Eric Peterson's really keeping Craig Forsyth honest here, trying to battle hard for that 6th position in that number 36 car.
Yeah, so far not a lot of movers there, but Eric Peterson, Craig Forsyth battling back towards the bottom half of the top 10. Probably our closest battle on track, as you mentioned, Gael, but not a ton of action so far. Everyone just kind of settling in and trying to find their pace. As now it looks like Dan Marrera and Matt Wagner are going to try and go side to side here. Matt Wagner getting to the inside now of Dan Marrera, giving him some room, trying to complete the pass, but definitely still hanging on his outside. Right, almost clear there. Yep.
really tight racing, though. You can see, and again, it's the momentum that Dan's able to keep out of turn 2, turn 4. And that's what's really keeping him in. Is like Dan's not going to roll over and let that 6 car by. As again, Matt just washes up close there out of turn 4. And that's how tight things get here. Because again, either you're going to have to pretty much dive it in there and try to slide up in front of him,
Slide
kind of feed him
job.
that dirty air. And yeah, there it is.
Slide
Matt
job.
feeds him that dirty air, and you saw Dan immediately have to roll out of that throttle just because of how much dirty air he got fed.
Wow, did you see how hard Jim Herrick just sent it into turn number 3? That was a beautiful pass for him, and there's a lot of craziness going on. It looks like Dan Marrera back there is starting to slide back just a little bit more now as Eric Peterson still trying to get by him as well. Yeah, definitely a little bit of action so far. Some side-by-side. We'll take it back here. The 36 and the 26 trying to it's really difficult if you can't pull off that slide job where you really send it into the corner. You really just kind of get stuck there at their side pod. As now we see Dan Marrera getting ahead of Eric Peterson, and Eric Peterson now working with the number 7 to his outside. Man, that 7 car all the way in, what's that, the 4th or 5th lane, all the way on the outside, trying to get good momentum down the backstretch. He's going to clear the 36 into turn number 3 there. What a move.
Yeah, big momentum there for Gary Corley to grab that spot, and that's what we just talked about. Is you got to have that momentum built up, and Gary just, like I said, he just kind of rolled through there. But you're right, though. Jim Herrick, though, is a great move on Jeff Heisung to grab P2. And he's going to have to kind of hustle because right now, while they've been doing that, Nick DeGroot, he's snuck away a little bit. He's about 3 seconds ahead now. I say this is probably one of those races where we talked about some of the other drivers, one that's not here tonight, that shares the booth with you frequently as well, Andrew Wood. He's kind of been Mr. Short Track, especially Mr. Flat Track, it feels like. So he's going to have to try to see if he can get back up there. But, man, I'm just watching this battle from about 5th on back. Craig Forsyth, Gary Corley, Denver, they're all on top of each other right now. But, man, Gary Corley's, I feel like he's the car on the move right now in that 7 machine. He's now gained 2 spots in the last couple of laps. So great opening stints here for Gary.
Yeah, definitely that number 7 machine, Jimmy Johnson scheme, doing well so far tonight, picking up a couple spots. He's technically tied for the biggest mover. The other one that's up 2 spots is also Matt Wagner, and we've got William Gunn, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and Jim Herrick up 1 spot as well. Dan Marrera is sliding back just a little bit. He's down 4 spots after the start that he's had, but still hoping to hang on here a little bit. He's kind of right in the middle of that mix, so there's a lot of spots for him to continue to grab and try to get back. But yeah, I mean, we'll jump back here to the leader, Nick DeGroot, for a second. He is absolutely checked out. I mean, he's got a 3-second gap over the field. The next closest gap is between 4th and 5th place at about a second and a half. So you can look at that long backstretch view there. Nick's almost got a whole straightaway on these guys right now, and I mean, absolutely running away with it right now.
Yeah, so when you're running 22-second laps and you got a 4-second lead, as I say that, Nick
He just ran the fastest lap of the race. Oh my gosh.
He is on a tear right now. However, the one thing I was about to talk about is I'm looking at the fuel mileage of these cars. Again, you never know what tricks these drivers have up their sleeves. Obviously, I'm based on the speed Nick's going. I'm going to say probably hard to guess he's not running a map 1 just full rich. Then again, I kind of go to the strategy drivers like a Craig Forsyth who loves to work his numbers. If these guys try to make it on a 3-stop strategy, they need to go about 32, 33 laps per fuel run to be able to make it on 3 stops. They split it evenly. If they want to try to make it on a 2-stop run, they need to go about 43 to 44 laps. So it's about a 10-lap window, but that will make a big difference between trying to make it a 2 or a 3-stopper in this 130-lap distance race. So right now you wonder maybe Nick saying, you know what, I don't even want to leave any fuel mileage to chance. I'm just going to go in full send and build up enough gap where I don't have to worry about an extra pit stop. So we'll have to keep an eye once we get to that lap 30, lap 40 range to see kind of who our first takers should we go green from start to the first green flag stop.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of how much of a gap Nick DeGroot has, even on the blimp cam, you can't see any of the other cars around him. Definitely very, very checking out for sure.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on how these guys are doing there. But yeah, right now, like I said, Nick definitely kind of running away with the show here. But again, though, still lots of stuff to happen in this race. I've been watching Matt Wagner's been slowly closing up on Jeff Heisong, trying to get up into that podium position. Also trying to get up into be the highest climber of the race as well to try to get that +3 from where his qualifying position was. So yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye and see how things keep going there. Then again, Gary Corley, he did lose a spot. I believe Eric Peterson got back around him. But another driver that we talked about is just kind of getting his feet wet, I feel like, in these opening laps. Luis Gonzalez Nunez, he's now up into ninth. They're starting to close the gap again on Dan Marrera as well. But I feel like Luis is only going to get faster as this race progresses. But I got to jump back up front, though, back to that 18 and 6 because Matt Wagner is there.
Yeah, he's there. He's on the inside now. He's going to try and send it off into turn number 3. See if he can make it stick. Ooh, almost a little bit of contact there, but they keep rolling. No problem. And Matt just gave him a little bit of room there. Got a little loose off of the corner there, so gave him some space down the straightaway, even though he was clear. And yeah, we've got Chris Matthews has been chiming in quite a bit. First of all, appreciate you letting me know that Gael's voice was a little bit low. Hopefully that is fixed now. But definitely, yeah, like you mentioned, we're looking forward to see what green flag pit stops are going to look like tonight. We've documented quite a few times over the season where we've had yellows from people trying to slow down and get into pit road. Obviously, last week was no exception, and most of the races we've seen so far this year have been no exception. So hopefully these guys are able to get down onto that flat there. There really isn't much of an apron here. It's really all quite flat, and especially like that first lane, even though it's not really a progressive banking at all, that first lane on the bottom in the yellow line really does feel like it is almost flat. So hopefully that bodes well for them getting onto pit road, and we can see some nice long green flag runs here. I know Nick DeGroot is definitely going to be expecting or hoping to have those, as we see now Jeff Heisong championship second place is back to 4th after dropping 2 spots, and Craig Forsyth in 3rd in the points, now sitting in 5th. So obviously Nick, I think, is hoping that this race will go green the whole entire way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because, like I said, he does have pretty much exactly a lap, or I should say a straightaway lead. I apologize. On the field because as he enters turn number 3, I watched the 40 of Jim Herrick. He's just rolling out of turn number 2. I mean, that's pretty much basically Jim can see him for about half a second or two, and then that car goes into that turn. But like I said, right now the car on the move though. Other than Nick, of course, is Matt Wagner on that 6. He's been pretty much running comparable lap times to Nick, and that's still even in the dirty air of that number 40 machine. So if Matt can clear Jim Herrick, get that clean air on the front wing of that 6 machine, I would watch for Matt to start putting down some pretty stellar lap times as well. But again, though, I just have that sinking suspicion. Craig Forsyth, I think he's plotting here. I think he's got some fuel strategy going on in that 27 car because I think he's working a fuel number. Like I said, I think he wants to try to cut a pit stop out of this race, knowing Craig and how wily he is. But as I say that, though, Matt Wagner, he has gotten around Jim Herrick, give him the second spot now. And now it's going to be a very good time to watch our lap times for our top 2 to see how they compare to one another.
Yeah, for sure. So that last time by, not this time by, I believe now 2 laps ago, actually, Matt Wagner ran a 21.92. That's only a 10th off of Nick DeGroot's fastest lap. And that last time, Nick DeGroot was still about 0.3 of a second faster than Matt Wagner. But Matt Wagner has been running some pretty quick laps there on the outside. Hopefully he's trying to mitigate that lead from increasing any further to Nick DeGroot, but he is securely in second place, and he now has about 0.7 of a second over Jim Herrick behind him. So it's definitely going to take a while here for him to try and reel him in, but we'll see what he can do. Looks like he was actually 0.2 or about a 1.5 faster than Nick DeGroot that last time by. So continuing to make some progress here is Matt Wagner, now our biggest mover, up 4 spots. And yeah, let's see if we could take it back. Looks like Craig Forsyth has a little bit of a battle here with Jeff Heisong now. Craig is actually running the second lane. I think he's probably one of the lowest guys out on the racetrack. Just about everyone using that third or fourth lane, especially Matt Wagner, way up there on the high side of the racetrack. But Craig's kind of working that second to third lane, trying to get and set up a pass to get around the number 18 machine. Obviously, Chris Matthews chiming in. It takes a long time to set up passes here, and it definitely appears to be so. It takes a while just to even get alongside and pull alongside the side pod of a driver, and we've mentioned and already seen a couple slide jobs that really were the only way that you can try and get a nose in there and just kind of almost completely overdrive the center or the beginning of the corner to try and clear them before you get to the midpoint of the corner.
Yeah, so now I would say so we've already now crossed the first pit stop section of this race. As you see Craig now alongside the 18. I think, like I said, this is that slide opportunity side by side. He's ascended deep there and washed right up in front, give him that dirty air. Say Craig plays a little nicer than that, though. He gives him still a little bit of room. Jeff's going to try to cross him over, but I think that outside line is going to prevail on that exit, and so give Craig that fourth position now in that 27 car. And again, that's second and third in the championship. So they want to try to keep pace with Nick DeGroot. And while watching them, let's say I was still watching lap times a little bit. And every so often, Matt and Nick either run identical laps or Matt might run about half a tenth quicker. So they're pretty much running identical lap times right now. The big difference is going to be in probably the next 5 to 10 laps here. Nick DeGroot probably going to start running into some traffic there. First with the 60 of Joseph Morales and the 14 of William Gunn. But again, I think closely my eyes are going to be set is going to be fuel mileage. Can these guys run the 44 laps to make it on a 2-stop strategy, or do we see anybody peel off before that point? So I think that's going to be the question mark: is when do we see a Nick DeGroot or Matt Wagner peel off onto pit road? Because right now they've gotten past that 33 mark, so we know at least that they can go a little further than a guaranteed 3-stopper.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see for sure. I think at this point everybody knows that there's really not going to be any way that you're going to beat Nick DeGroot on pace at all. So you're going to have to try and find something different to do. Obviously, there's a lot of guys back in the pack. Obviously, we've mentioned it a few times. All these guys are really good at saving fuel, but I know Craig Forsyth, practically a human computer when it comes to crunching fuel numbers in the sim seat, and yeah, you know for a fact he is looking for something and some sort of opportunity for him and his teammates to try a different strategy. And obviously his teammates just ahead of him, Jim Herrick. Jim Herrick's had a bit of an up and down last couple of weeks. Obviously winning I think 3 or 4 weeks ago now at Auto Club, but those two teammates are definitely going to probably, I would assume, try to employ the same strategy as they work together. And also they've got Dan Marrera back there in 9th place, their third teammate. So always helpful to have teammates out there to be able to bounce those strategies off of and kind of as a group think of what's the next best way to tackle this race if I can't just beat somebody like Nick DeGroot out on pure pace.
Yeah, right now it looks like I think our question is going to be answered here because again, I mean these guys are clicking off 22-second laps right now, and Nick's just about to start to get to traffic here when that 60 of Joseph Morales. Again, he's crossing lap 42 now. Again, my magic number was to split it in the thirds in this case to make 2 pit stops was going to be lap 44, and I mean at this point I feel like he can save an extra lap if he needed to. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable if I'm Nick DeGroot right now of trying to make this magic happen. So, and sure enough, yeah, he stays out one more lap. So I think at this point, everybody's just going to kind of now they're just going to build up the banker laps, if you will, because now it's like, hey, I don't want to be the first one to pit because I don't want to get trapped in case, like I said, in case of a mistake during pit stops, entering pit road. Never want to get trapped on pit road when the rest of the field is already going through. So, but yeah, now he's got the first really sense of dirty air that he's had all race long here as he's going to try to work that 60. As I think the 60 Justin Morales definitely gave him plenty of room there.
Yeah, definitely. And that was one thing that we've noticed a few times where we've seen races where there was a caution brought out by a driver coming down on the pit road and spinning out or causing an accident somehow down there. And then that kind of flips it flips the leaderboard a little bit where at least anybody who has already pitted, or if you were the first one to pit, you kind of get trapped a lap down due to that caution, unfortunately, and then you kind of have to wait until the next caution comes out, which we've seen at the next green flag pit cycle. Another caution comes out, and then the field flips right back to where it was. Obviously, other than for the people that are involved in the accident. So again, hoping to see everyone has made some practice for pit stops. Shouldn't be as big of a deal to get down onto the flat, off of the flat here. Flat track here at Loudon, but we'll have to see. It's definitely there's definitely an art to it, and these guys are pushing as hard as they possibly can, competing as hard as they possibly can every single lap, every single week, and sometimes it's pretty easy to lose the back end of the car when you're pushing that hard.
Yeah, especially these things start to get loose on or light on fuel, I should say. Tires obviously getting nice and worn, and it kind of opens up the other potential. Is there any thought about maybe trying to short pit these cars? I think I just heard someone chime out they're going to be hitting pit road shortly, so I think we might have our first taker. I don't believe it was Nick DeGroot. It looks like it's actually going to be Gary Corley, the
Yep,
first on pit road here in the 7.
getting
But
down
yeah,
to
so I
pit
think
speed.
window's about to open. So at this point, though, I guess the next question is, Boomer, I don't see it being realistic, but could someone, let's say, go 65 laps on fuel and try to see if they can make it a one-stop race? Because, I mean, right now, these guys aren't barely even blinking here as we almost get to lap number 50.
We'll have to wait and see. It's interesting to see. Well, not that interesting, but I guess it is. Yeah, it is interesting, definitely to see. We actually see William Gunn coming down this time as well. But it is interesting to see that it was quite easy for them to get to that magic 44 lap mark to be able to go 43 and 43 laps on the second and third stints, only pitting twice. But yeah, we're well past that mark already. So if anything, it'd be crazy to see if anyone does have the ability to go 65 laps to stretch it out 15 more laps. I'm sure somebody's going to be trying it if they can, as it looks like we have a whole slew of drivers coming down pit road now. We got Matt Wagner on pit road, Jeff Heisong, Eric Peterson. You saw William Gunn coming out of his pit stall there as well. So plenty of the field starting to come down. Luis Gonzalez Nunez in this time as well, but Nick DeGroot, Jim Herrick, Craig Forsyth, and Dan Morera, all four are still out on the racetrack, the only four that haven't pitted. So who knows? Maybe they're trying to run this stage as long as possible and short pit the final two stages, even if they can't make it on one stop the whole race.
Yeah, I just heard Nick DeGroot. He's calling in, so here he comes right now. Also heard Craig Forsyth call in as well. So no strategy there for the 26. Sounds like he's going to come in as well, which looks like we'll cycle the lead over to Jim Herrick for the moment. So like I said, this is the moment for those championship guys. Like I said, Eric Peterson, Jeff Heisong already pitting. Then Craig Forsyth now as well. And then Nick DeGroot. This is where you get nervous about those cautions because you don't want to get trapped. As now Jim Herrick's calling that he's going to hit pit road as well. So we're just about to complete the cycle. Other than Dan Morera, I think once Jim Herrick pits, that'll leave just Dan Morera as the last driver to hit pit road here. So looks like we're probably not going to see the strategy like we talked about of maybe someone trying to one stop. I think that 65 mark was just too much. But yeah, right now it's all about just minimizing mistakes. And so far, knock on wood, looking at lap times or pit times, I should say, and I see no penalties, no stop and hold. So it looks like everybody's holding serve pretty nicely thus far.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like there was a pass. Looks like Matt Wagner did get around Craig Forsyth there. Well, actually, that would have been, apologies, that might have just been from coming out of the pits there. But cycling out fairly normal. Obviously, Joseph Morales will maybe inherit the lead depending on when Dan Morera pits. But you can see right now, Jeff Heisong is still sitting behind Dan Morera, running a little bit faster every lap than Dan. Not by only like a tenth or two, so really, tires definitely not an issue here at all. But you can definitely see if a caution were to come out right now, I think that would give Jeff Heisong the lucky dog back, which would be great. Lucky dog to give him a lead, a lap back to get back on the lead lap. But Eric Peterson, you see back there in that yellow car, he is currently the second car one lap down, and that would him and everyone behind him would get trapped a lap, as looks like Dan Morera is actually going to make his way onto pit road now. So that will inherit the lead to Joseph Morales. So the only two drivers now stuck on the back a lap down are Gary Corley and William Gunn. So we'll have to see how many more laps Joseph Morales can go. I don't think that he can stretch it 9 more laps. I really don't think he can stretch it that far. Do you think, Kyle?
No, I think it's outside of the window. However, again, I mean, you kind of hope, hey, someone's going to be on fresh tires and they didn't build with the temps. Maybe they make a mistake. And then say, because once you pay, probably everybody's going to want to come back in as well. So maybe you gain a ton of track position that way. But so far, as I'm listening, no commentary from the 6 saying he's going to hit pit road. So he's holding off as long as he can here. But as I said, now he calls it in here. So he's going to come in at 58, which will cycle things back over to Nick DeGroot. But yeah, like I said, on the pit cycle, though, not a lot of changes, though. And it looks like a nice entry for that 60 as well. So give Nick back the point here in the 89. And then, like I said, Matt Wagner now still stays in second after cycle. But Craig Forsyth was able to just get around Jim Herrick. As Craig had a little warmer tires, was able to work Jim Herrick around. And I'm sure teammates probably not fighting too hard for a position. Jumps him up into third. And then Jim Herrick, Jeff Heisong rounds out our top 5 right now, as that 60 hits pit road. But yeah, so like I said, these things are clicking off very fast, Boomer. We're already almost halfway through this one. And it's like, yeah, right now the field very, very spread out. The closest battles on track are pretty much Jim Herrick, Jeff Hysong, and then Gary Corley and Dan Marrera. Everybody else has got at least a couple seconds in between them. So kind of got that conveyor belt look going right now at this track.
Yeah, we'll see if we can take a quick look at the sky cam, and you see they look like ants down there, but those are full-size cars on the sky cam view. But yeah, just moving along here at the Magic Mile, just under halfway to go in this race, and yeah, it's definitely been quiet to say the least, but sometimes it's a little bit refreshing. It's nice to have long green flag runs and actually see a little bit of pit strategy play off. Obviously, we still have Matt Wagner up 4 spots. Luis Gonzalez Nunez is now up 4 spots as well. So definitely some guys that are trying to make something happen. There really isn't a lot you can do here. You mentioned, I think really we'll jump to the closest battle on track, Gary Corley and Dan Marrera, as you mentioned. Probably the closest thing we have to a battle on the track. The next closest battle is Jim Herrick, who is 9/10 of a second behind his teammate. Excuse me, no, he's 9/10 of a second ahead of Jeff Hysong, excuse me. So those are pretty much the closest battles, as we do see a side-by-side action here from Gary Corley and Dan Marrera trying to make something happen there. On the outside is Dan Marrera with Gary Corley taking that inside line. Dan pulling away down the front stretch with a little bit of that higher line momentum, and Gary Corley trying to cross him over a little bit there. Not quite going to happen. Dan will be thrown away and pick up that 8th place position for now.
Yeah, so right now, like I said, I mean, Nick is pretty much checked out. I mean, he's got 8 seconds on Matt. Like I said, their lap times are pretty much even with one another. Just it's one of those things where Matt probably just unhappy with the qualifying attempt that he had. They're wanting to try to get a little bit more track position to kick it off. But at this point, like I said, I mean, he's running great lap times. But yeah, this field is very even right now. Pretty much the whole field right now is running within about 2/10 of each other. Pretty much 22:10 to about 22:30 range. That's just how close these guys are. And that's what makes it tough. Once the field gets spread out, there's I'd say you can't really find too much magic after that. So like I said, pit strategy, that comes into play a little bit here, or maybe we do see, like you said, because they went so far on that first run where they could probably maybe try to pull a slight different strategy, maybe to put a little less fuel in, lighten the car up. I don't think we'll see any fuel only stops, but right now, like I said, I think these guys, it really the only thing that's going to turn the table of this race is going to be mistakes on track, either getting on and off of pit road or just or a yellow from car contact. So right now, yeah, these guys are all probably, well, I say for sure Nick DeGroot's pretty happy with how things are looking right now. Some of the other guys might want things shaken up just a little bit.
Yeah, some excitement. I'm as a broadcaster, I'm definitely not opposed to that. But yeah, you mentioned it's definitely kind of quiet so far. I mean, really, obviously Matt kind of trading back and forth lap times with Nick DeGroot there. Nick having that ability to pretty much lead this potentially flag to flag if this goes green. We do see that they've got maybe about a 20 lap window or so. Most of the drivers pitting on lap 48, 50, 51, some of them. So they've got a few laps at least to play with there. So if that puts them at, let's ballpark and say lap 100, and at lap 80, pretty much the pit window would open to go the rest of the way. That gives them about 20 laps to really play with what they want to do. It's not a lot. It's, obviously wasn't enough to try and cut one pit cycle out of the race. For some of those who could try and save more fuel, though, could be an opportunity to try and short pit here. We'll have to see. We got about 10 laps here now until we mentioned that pit window opens, and you'll probably be seeing everybody coming down to pit road within about 20 laps or so. But I think for the most part, everyone's just hoping to ride this out, and I have a feeling this is going to be a really quick race tonight.
Yeah, right now, like I said, yeah, these guys are just clicking lap times off, and as I like I said, those gaps are starting to spread even more. So right now, just kind of just like you said, kind of that conveyor belt really all around the track right here. But yeah, I'll say looking at the intervals, looking at lap times, and you're exactly right. The pit window is going to open in about 10 laps, where everybody can comfortably make it to the end. However, they don't have to come in probably forcefully until about lap 100. So, like you said, there's going to be like you said, just about a 20 lap window for when the window opens to when you have to pit. And just based on the season, I say it's definitely been the season of pit stop cautions. I would say that's going to probably force the field to say, you know what, I can't risk it. I want to go all the way to lap 100 before I pit. Also, just partially because I think they also want to make sure that there's not a lot of drop off. So I mean, why take the gamble, you know? So right now, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see who's gonna blink first. But I don't see any big changes on the new tires versus old tires. So the one thing I am seeing is that say a lot of these guys have kind of bumped their pace down a little bit. Either that or maybe the full fuel loads are actually just slowing these cars down more so than the fresh tires.
Yeah, usually the saying goes light is tight, so definitely not as loose when you have less fuel in the car, but definitely a different dynamic as that changes over the run. But let's actually take a second here to go through the field while we have an opportunity just to do something fun and continue to talk a little bit more about the rest of the drivers in the field. Obviously, we already mentioned that guy checking out in first place. We won't bother about him. He's doing a good job. But second place here is Matt Wagner. He's up 4 spots on the evening. Obviously, we mentioned maybe not satisfied with that qualifying effort, but still running some great lap times. Just about even with Nick DeGroot, maybe a little bit slower. That gap to that leader is still growing, but Matt's still the second fastest car out on the track. Second place goes back to the 27 of Craig Forsyth, up 2 spots tonight into the third position. In the third position of the championship running order as well, as we've already mentioned. His teammate just behind him, Jim Herrick, in the 40 car, sponsored by 4D Racewear, who also sponsors the league. Jim is currently sitting in fourth spot, down 1 from his originally starting position. And Gael, you want to take it away with our 5th place driver?
Yeah, can definitely do that. That's going to be our second place in the points, the 18 of Jeff Heisong. Like I said, unfortunately, had a great qualifying position, qualified P2, but just wasn't able to hold that track position. They gave it everything he could with Nick as those tires were brand new and kind of just everybody building speed. But he's dropped a few spots now, and just, yeah, not what he's been looking for so far. But again, still got about half the race to go. And behind him, Eric Peterson in that 36 machine. Pretty much gaining 1 spot from where he started. Say again, kind of definitely an Eric Peterson race, just kind of I think biding his time and trying to see if the race can come to him. But like I said, just the way this race has gone just hasn't worked out for him yet. But still lots of racing to go in this one. So yeah, never know for sure. And then we'll jump back 1 more spot, and that is Luis Gonzalez Nunez, who actually just got put a lap down by Nick DeGroot. And so yeah, so just no mistakes really by the 89, allowing him to sneak by that 15, and again just showing the pace that Nick has tonight now, lapping up to that 7th position. In the 15 machine behind him, Dan Morera, he was one of the ones that went the furthest on field, wondering if maybe he could do something and pull off a one stopper, but just wasn't there tonight. So he currently sits in 8th, unfortunately 4 spots down from his qualifying spot. Then get to 9th place, Gary Corley in that Carvana paint scheme number 7. Sitting just inside the top 10 and just about 2 seconds up on that Red Bull machine of William Gunn. Right now running exactly where he started. And surprisingly, actually, Boomer, only 2 of the cars running where they started, one being our pole sitter, Nick DeGroot, and one being our 10th place driver of William Gunn. And then interesting strategy here, actually, we talked about the driver that went the latest on fuel. That the first run, Joseph Morales, he actually came in the earliest on the second run. And I just looked at his pit stop time, 4.6 seconds. That tells me fuel only in that 60. He is taking a bit of a gamble, see if he can maybe jump at least a couple positions on track. But again, he's going to need to have this thing cycle around to avoid getting trapped those 3 laps that he's currently down. So he wants this thing to run to the green, run green to the end now to avoid any troubles. But yeah, right now we have a very, very spread out field on track. As I said, their closest battle now is looks like about 1.3 seconds between Jeff Heisong and Jim Herrick. So, as I said, caution is
caution
out,
on
and
him. Yep.
here we go, changing everything. Oh, Luis Gonzalez Nunez unfortunately involved.
Yeah, I was going to mention we didn't see much of Joseph Morales pitting there. He kind of did that completely under the radar, but he actually pitted that lap 73 to take his second service, the shortest second stint, although it looks like everybody here is going to take their final pit stop here as the pit window is open for the rest of the race. So unfortunately, we'll see if we can go back and watch what happened, if he just got loose or maybe might have to back up just a little bit here. So we'll try and take a look. Definitely a hard impact there with the wall. We'll take it back just a little bit here, see if we can not run out of talent while we organize the views here. And we'll back it up just a touch here.
Yeah, I'm poking around a little bit on my side as well. And if you watch, the big thing to watch here, Boomers, watch the dotted lines on that inside. We talked about the first set of dotted lines as kind of the first groove where you really want to run his lefts are just below it there. So I
Yeah,
think
you
he
can
actually
see
got
he's
onto
just
that flatter section.
getting
And I think
loose and
that's what upset that car and spun him around, unfortunately.
yeah.
Just try to do something different. And again, we talked about just that little bit of banking difference. That's how much it upset that car here.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely unfortunate, but it happens. Obviously, that you can get a little bit loose there. That first lane really isn't any less banked than the rest of the track, but it definitely has a feeling of that. So unfortunate there for sure. But we're gonna head back now to pit stops as we'll see the. 1 second here. Apologies. Head back to the pit stops here. Watching Nick DeGroot coming down pit lane now. And looks like he's probably going to lead the rest of the field down, and quite a bit of gap back to the number 6 machine of Matt Wagner and Craig Forsyth there in second and third as they come on pit road. William Gunn also coming down. I don't remember if you can take service on the first lap as a lap car or not, but William Gunn coming down first lap anyway. And Nick going to get his service here for 4 tires and fuel and be on his way.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty much like I said, a clean in and out for Nick here. You see him just drop off. But the big I think thing is look just behind him there. You'll see as he leaves, they just started rolling off behind him. Craig Forsyth actually able to jump Matt Wagner on the pit exit. So that's going to bump Craig up into that second position here. Drivers again also working on the wave rounds. I believe it was Dan Marrero that got the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap in that number 26 machine. And then I think there's going to be a couple of wave rounds as well. I believe it looks like the 60 of Joseph Morales is going to try to get one of his laps back. So this is first caution here, Boomer, just inside of 50 to go here. We know everybody's good to go now on fuel, so there's no fuel saving now to the end. And I'm saying that the players changing up front a little bit now as well. Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner. Say Craig's gonna need to be aggressive here to see if he can do anything to that number 89 and try to kind of throw him off his game a little bit, maybe on this restart.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think anybody's going to have a lot for Nick DeGroot here except for on a short run. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll be single file on the restart here, controlled by the leader. So Nick DeGroot does have that advantage to try and pull away and get a good jump over Craig. So we'll have to see if Craig is on his toes and ready for that. It's definitely going to be a bit of a battle. I know Craig's going to have a handful with that number 6 machine behind him. Matt really proving to be the second fastest car out on the track tonight. So it's going to be quite a bit of a challenge for Craig to stay in that second position or try to move forward, but he's definitely, I assume, down for the challenge. And Jim Herrick's still sitting in that 4th position, and Jeff Heisong in the 5th position. So not too much of a shakeup other than Craig and Matt kind of jumping each other, but definitely still plenty of action now that you got a chance to have a couple more laps under your belt. You know the track a little bit better, and the track's kind of changing as the race goes on. So who knows? We could still see a little bit of action here as far as trying to grab a spot or two. But passing really has been a premium as Craig Forsyth and Matt Wagner are our only cars up 3 spots that are our highest. Yeah, they passed the most cars. I can't words tonight. But Nick DeGroot is in first place. He will lead us back under the green flag. Gets a nice jump over Craig Forsyth in second place. Craig there with a good run out of 2 to kind of stay there with him. Going to try and get to his rear wing there and try and make a move into turn number 1. Trying to pull off a slide job, see if he can make it. He's going to actually take the lead over into turn number 3. Nick DeGroot crosses back over at the stripe. That gives 1 lap lead of points to Craig Forsyth. We'll see how much more of a battle Craig has in that number 27 machine as he's trying to stay strong on that outside, trying to keep it going. Definitely a little bit of excitement here after this restart.
Yeah, Craig turned it up a notch there in that 27. And again, to say Nick's got to be, again, he can't be take it easy, but he's got to watch the risk versus reward because it's not just Craig he's battling, it's also Jeff Heisong. But man, these guys are putting it on right now with these fresh tires as Nick now gets back by Craig. And look at that, protects the inside line here. A little surprised to see that. I feel like the outside's actually where you want to be. Now Craig's going to dive it back into 3. Say these guys are going to leave nothing to chance, but that's a great exit out of 4 for Nick. He's going to, I think, be able to live to fight another day here for at least a set of turns here. What a great job by those two, though, giving it all they have here with 40 to go.
Yeah, at this point, there is absolutely nothing worth saving at all, so you might as well just go all the way for it. And Craig's definitely dialing it up a notch, kind of finding some speed that we might not have seen earlier in the race, but we'll see as looks like Nick DeGroot's about a 4/10 of a second lead there that last time by, and that number 6 machine is definitely getting bigger in the mirror of that 27 car, so we'll have to wait and see. Definitely some excitement. Love to see the effort by the 27 machine. He's still trying to battle now with the 6 machine of Matt Wagner. We got another couple battles back here in the pack. Eric Peterson trying to get around Jeff Heisong right there on his rear wing, trying to see what he can make happen on the inside. Ooh, he gets a little bit of loose there. Looked like going into the corner. Lost a lot of time there to the 18.
Yeah, had to back it down, and yeah, you're right though, Craig. He's lost the gain onto Nick DeGroot. Now that's put him under attack from Matt Wagner. Matt's going to jump to his outside through 3 and 4. He's going to clear him for that second spot. You said that he was going to have to watch out for the 27, or the 27's going to have to watch out for the 6, and that was exactly what he did. But I have to admit, I was a little surprised none of those guys were really wanting to run that second lane until Matt really right there kind of took it very forcefully. I really thought we'd see these guys run higher than they were. So I feel like that's what kind of put Craig on the back foot there was he kept running low. I think he kept kind of eating the dirty air of Nick DeGroot. So now Matt Wagner, he has the clean air, or roughly clean air, I guess you could say. And last time by, he was 2/10 of a second quicker than Nick DeGroot. So we'll have to keep an eye on these lap times and also watch where they run on the track. As Matt definitely running about a groove higher than that 89. So we'll see if he can do something with this 89 to try to see if he can snag one away here with 35 to go.
Yeah, they were pretty even there that time around. Matt Wagner about 800ths of a second faster, so trying to see what he can do to chip away now that he's got a little bit less dirty air in second place versus being in third behind Craig Forsyth. Craig now dropping back quite a bit. He's actually under fire from his teammate of Jim Herrick, and this battle back here is probably the closest one that we have on back between Craig Forsyth, Jim Herrick, Jeff Heisong, and Eric Peterson. Definitely only about a second or so between all 4 of these cars here, so have to see if Craig can stay ahead of his teammate here, and if Jeff Heisong can maybe reel this batch in. But yeah, definitely falling off a little bit for Craig Forsyth after running really hard to restart this race here after that first caution. But Matt Wagner pretty even still staying with Nick DeGroot, maybe a couple hundredths of a second faster here or there. We'll have to see. There's still a lot of time left, about 30 laps, so he's going to have a long way to go if he can try and reel in that 89. But I know for a fact that nobody's probably driving it harder right now than that number 6 machine with that 89 just in front of his windscreen there.
Yeah, exactly right. Although I say, looking at the intervals, I think there must have been a bobble there for Matt because he's just fallen to about 1.3 seconds back. So I think had a moment there, had to back down the pace. And I'll watch to see if the lap times works. Last time by, he was about 3/10 slower. I have a feeling it's going to be a little worse this time around. Yeah, again, 3/10, 22:57. And actually, a lot of these cars this last lap, they've really dropped the pace here, Boomer. Nick DeGroot is actually the only driver still in the 22.2s. Everybody else was in the 22.4s and 5s. So I'm not sure. Maybe there's maybe a specific lap mark on these tires. Maybe those temps start to build up. But man, there's starting to be a train behind Craig Forsyth. Jim Herrick's right there. Jeff Heisong's right there. Eric Peterson's joined this fight as well. So I'll say if Jim plays too nice with his teammate, though, that's going to open him up for attack possibly from the 18 and the 36. So he's going to have to be careful not to get kind of trapped behind his teammate here.
Yeah, for sure. Jim Herrick's definitely probably trying to hope to get around his teammate if he can, although knowing that, Craig is still in the battle for the points championship, but definitely all bets are off as far as teammates go sometimes during the race. But I know Craig is probably really hoping that Jim does not let that 18 by as well, just trying to stay ahead of him in the points championship. On the flip side, Jeff Heisong, who's been big wreck there for the 40 machine of Jim Herrick. Yes, caution came out.
Yeah, caution's out. That was a big hit. However, he kept that thing rolling. I mean, look at this thing though, Boomer. No nose cone, no rear spoiler. You can tell at least 2 broken tires, suspension on that car.
Yeah.
So hopefully fast repair is still in play there. But man, that car he got loose. He tried to catch it and it just snapped on him. And that was a brutal hit.
See the action there. Corrects it and just overcorrected it, unfortunately. Oof. Even in the sim world,
thing that
you
we
never.
Saw with Luis, though.
Yeah.
Just went too low there, got under that first out of line. So This will be interesting now, Boomer, is the pit stop strategy. We know everybody's good to go on fuel. Are tires more important than track position? Because we just saw again the lap times really dropped off for a lot of our leaders that around that point. So is it a temperature issue? Is it a wear issue? I think we're going to see some games being played here when these guys maybe try to hit pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you definitely saw the six machine trying to work really hard to get around the 27 and the 89. We'll see here as we'll jump back live, see who is actually, looks like we got a bit of a split strategy. The 89 and the six machine are staying out, as well as the 14 and the 1. So they're going to try and see what they can do here. Looks like the 40 of Jim Herrick has already received his pit service for the rest of the race. I would assume unless we have another caution, but looks like we've got Craig Forsyth now coming out first off pit road. Jeff Heisong will be just after him, and Eric Peterson. So we did see that Matt Wagner was starting to drop off just a little bit. I know Craig Forsyth was definitely starting to drop off, so I guarantee that Craig is very happy to have a fresh set of tires here to try and continue to move forward and maybe have something a little bit more for that 6 or that 89 if he has that opportunity to have some fresher tires here.
Yeah, because there is about a 20 lap difference on these tires now for our leaders to now Craig Forsyth. And yeah, there was a little bit of gamesmanship. Nick was looking, he was peaking low, and then right before the yellow cone, he said, "Yeah, I'm not pitting." And Matt followed him along. And Craig was actually staying on the track and said, "You know what? I'm going to come in then." And he brought the rest of the lead lap with him. You also see hitting pit road now, the 14 William Gunn got his wave around. He's back on the lead lap. Which leaves now Gary Corley, Jim Herrick, both one down. They'll be the two fighting for the lucky dog here. So yeah, so this is going to be interesting now. So again, it's going to be another sprint here to the end. We know fuel's out of the question. The question is going to be, do tires play a role in this thing? And again, we talked about there are no green white checkers here, Boomer. So basically, lap 130 will be the final lap of this race, be it under green or under yellow. But yeah, so these guys are going to have to get those tires warmed up and kind of get them to that magic temperature fast. But man, I'm excited to see this restart because we've seen Matt's pace, we've seen Craig Forsyth's pace. Can Matt make a move on this restart on Nick DeGroot like we saw Craig do that last time by? And then what can Craig do with the two of them? And same thing, Jeff Heisong. I love the strategy. It's always good to go opposite when you don't lose much track position.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to wait and see here as we get ready to just about go back under green. But we'll take a short break and we'll bring you back to the action on the wave of the green flag. All right, bit of a short break here as we are back around these short pace laps here at the Magic Mile at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Pace truck, lights are off. He'll duck down into pit road. Matt Wagner and Nick DeGroot on the old tires going to be at the front of this field, and the green flag will wave for our leader, Nick DeGroot. Up and away, going to try and get those tires warm to try and get them back up to the optimum grip level so that they can continue to lead this race. Definitely going to see how much pressure Craig Forsyth can put on the number 6 machine now that he has a fresh set of tires. Not a lot of fall off there at the beginning of the run, but we definitely saw the 27 and the 6 starting to back off to the 89 machine, but you can see there's a little bit more residual heat left in the tires for the 89 and the 6 machine as they continue to pull away from the pack. So we'll have to see if once the tires get up to temperature for Craig Forsyth and the rest of the pack, if they can try and make something happen here. But that gap really quickly growing. Now Matt Wagner 1 second behind our leader Nick DeGroot, and Craig Forsyth 0.8 of a second behind our second place driver. So definitely tires not up to temperature just yet, but hopefully they still have enough new rubber on them to get them back up to the lead.
Yeah, and right now, actually, Jeff Heisong, he's found something on this set of tires because he is putting a lot of pressure on Craig Force. I think, I say, rim riding there gets a great exit off of four. Might have a chance to peak a low here in one if he chooses to. He's going to stay high. And again, and oh, he's going to be careful right in the wash of the 27 car, but hangs onto it. But yeah, so far, it looks like the tire's not doing what Craig was hoping for. I feel like now they should just be about in their window. But again, it might be that thing where once the 6 and the 89, they get a couple laps where they hit their wall, their cliff, if you will. It might be the same situation where then Craig is able to gain time on them. But right now, looking like tires did not make as much of a difference as the leaders were hoping for. Or I should say that the third place driver is looking for. But yeah, right now, looking at a lot of times again, once again, everybody's within about a tenth or so of one another here, and starting to spread out just a little bit. So unfortunately, I think I love the gamble by Craig. I love the gamble by Jeff. At the moment, doesn't look like it's going to pan out the way they hope to.
Yeah, it looks like Matt Wagner actually just ran his fastest lap of the race that time by on about 20 lap old tires. So not a lot of fall off, but I think what might have happened in that last run before the last caution, the tires might have just gotten too hot for some of those drivers like Matt Wagner and Craig Forsyth who were trying to surge to try and get around the 89 machine. So maybe not a lot of tire wear, but I would assume a lot of heat in the tires, which definitely gives them less grip. So, but thankfully Matt was able to cool them back down under caution and kind of manage his gap now to the 89 machine, but that gap still continuing to grow for everyone behind the 6 machine of Matt Wagner from Craig Forsyth now 1.5 seconds behind second place, and Jeff Heisong another 1.5 seconds or so back behind Craig Forsyth. So definitely going to be
Yeah, here comes Eric Peterson, actually, I say, because, yeah, Jeff fell back off of Craig, and that opened the door for Eric. Now he's trying to go on an attack here, try to get himself back up to fourth. And also Dan Marrero trying to get back into the top five as well. So this is a really good fight just inside the top five for these three drivers here. As you can see, Jeff's going to kind of continue to use the outside line. Eric's going to run the inside. But just right now, that momentum shift staying on that second lane, as I said, you can keep these cars wound up, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely one of those things where it's not necessarily a one-lane track, but you really have to work hard to set up that pass, and we'll see the 36 trying to duck down to the second lane there. See if he can make something happen, though. Dan Marrero behind him is going to try and get to his outside as well. So this is definitely a pretty big battle heating up for the 4th, 5th, and 6th positions right now. Seems like the more Eric Peterson runs towards the bottom of the racetrack, the more the 26 machine gets to him. And it looks like, almost thought about going 3 wide there for a second as the 36 gets underneath the 18 this time by. So
it's a good exit.
Yeah, great exit. Looks like the 36 is probably going to be clear into turn number 3 here, I would guess. And yes, it looks like he is going to be able to pull up. No, to take it back, the 18 is trying to stay strong on the outside.
What an exit.
A great run down the front stretch for the 18 machine. That was incredible. This is great racing right here.
Yeah, 2 big moves there. 1 and 2 is a big move by Eric Peterson. Looked like he had it in the bag, and then Jeff Heisong said, not so fast. I'm going to send it through the top side 3 and 4. Took the spot back, and now the battle's right behind him, which is exactly what he wants to see. He wants to see these guys battle for 5th. That way he can try to run away with that 4 spot, and they are tight there coming through the front stretch.
Yeah, they're not. The 18's really not able to pull away from these two as they battle side by side, but that 26 definitely has a great run on the outside. The 36 working really well into the entry of the corner and through the center of the corner, but that high line definitely prevailing on the outside from middle of the corner off, and it looks like the 26 is going to complete that pass. So unfortunately for the 36 machine, trying to grab 4th place, he now finds himself relegated back to 6th, but he's still 1 up from his starting position tonight. So overall, not a bad night for the 36 machine. As this is definitely the most intense battle we have here with 9 laps to go now. We'll switch back to the lead for just a second here. Nick DeGroot.
The gap's starting to close.
Yeah, starting to close just a little bit.
7/10 now.
It was almost a second now, and I think Matt's pulled to now. Yeah, he's pulling to just over 0.4 of a second. Oh, we got a crash in the back. Eric Peterson.
Oh, Eric Peterson around over the cars. Well, it's spun around now. We'll see if he can grab a gear and get going. He's trying to get it off the racing surface. Now he's able to grab a gear, turn it around. We might stay under green here.
See if we can take a quick.
It's going to be close.
Yeah,
it looks like he's good again.
See if we can take a quick second here to see what happened, and then try and jump back live. But looks like Tried to get low on the entry. Wow, he does a really shallow entry. I'm assuming he just gets loose, and yep, there it is.
Oh yeah, it just
Unfortunate.
got loose
Yeah,
and maybe too much rear brake,
pretty.
possibly.
Maybe a little bit of rear brake getting in, but he spins and then he gets off down into the pit lane. Not a lot of damage to that car, but unfortunately that's not going to trigger a yellow because it's off of the racing surface. So unfortunate for the 36 machine here. He's going to probably be the first car one lap down now, it looks like, as he gets rolling again. But that gap for the lead now actually tightening up. That is our second closest battle on the track. Dan Marrera and Jeff Heisog still going at it back there, but we'll try and see if we can watch this for a few minutes here. Looks like Matt Wagner dropping off just a little bit that lap. We'll let you know what the lap times were that time by, as Nick DeGroot ran a 22:07 and Matt Wagner a 22:19. So about a tenth of a second difference there. Matt Wagner falling back just a little bit again over Nick DeGroot. Definitely going to have to still have 5 fairly clean laps for Nick DeGroot, as Matt Wagner has proved that he's ready to pounce if Nick does make any big mistakes.
Yeah, no, any bobble in the 6 will be there. Same thing, really. Any bobble in the 27 will be there as well. So, yeah, it's definitely not all said and done for Nick DeGroot. Obviously, he does have the benefit of that clean air on the front wing of that 89 car. And yeah, he's going to hope to see these next few laps here go nice and clean. But Craig Forsyth, too, he's trying to close the gap on Matt Wagner. I think these guys were, like you said, were managing their tire temperatures. And I'm still watching, kind of keeping an eye as well on 4th and 5th, as Dan Murray is still trying to keep the pressure on Jeff Heisong, trying to get himself up into 4th. And you know Jeff's going to want to minimize any points lost tonight as well to give himself the best chance he can next week at Indy. So right now, like I said, these guys are very equal, Boomer. But again, these laps click so fast off here. We're down to 2 to go here. Nick DeGroot just needs to run 2 more clean laps and he can put this one away.
Yep, through turns number 1 and 2 is Nick DeGroot as he comes down onto the backstretch. Now about a 1-second lead over Matt Wagner. Looking like he's pretty much ready to set sail. He will be getting the white flag this time around. It will be the 89 leading them to that white flag. As mentioned, Matt Wagner in second and Craig Forsyth in third. About a second gap between all 3 of them. Going to be pretty smooth sailing, and we really haven't seen a mistake out of that 89 machine all night long. I don't think we're going to see one here, as he's going to go into turn number 3, down to that second lane off turn number 4, breaks a draft, gets across the line. I believe that's win number 4 on the season for Nick DeGroot, and pretty much just about wrapping up that championship for him. Looks like the 18 machine did get the 26 of Dan Marrera there at the end, so trying to minimize that points gap as much as possible, but another outstanding performance for that 89 machine here tonight.
Yeah, it's tough to beat Nick when he's at his best, and I'll say obviously a tough track to pass that. But I mean, that restart though. I mean, Craig Forsyth, Nick DeGroot. I mean, I think that was definitely one of the battles of the race. That was wild between those two. But yeah, it was a great job by Nick there, and he's going to celebrate here on the front stretch. As he's got plenty of fuel to do some donuts here tonight. Again, I think he's got enough practice with these things to get him taken care of.
Yeah, I think by now he's gotten pretty good at it. Doing a little showing off here as he burns it down, but yeah, I mean, I know, I'm sure uh, everyone might get a little tired of us saying it, but he really is the class of the field, and you really have to be on your A game if you're going to beat him. And the likes of Matt Wagner and Craig Forsyth were there, had just a little bit there for him, and unfortunately just not enough to get through and get up there for that win. But we still have hard-earned podium placings to give interviews for. The first one will be that number 27 machine of Craig Forsyth, so we'll pull him up into the booth and see how his night went from his perspective. Definitely had something there. It looked like before that last caution came out, and pitted, got new tires, and got to a point where you were actually chasing down that 89 machine of Nick DeGroot, and just didn't quite have it. Started to fall off a little bit, and the 6 got back around you. But did you expect to have that much drive off on that second to last restart there with those fresh tires?
I think the only reason I got even up to Nick was just because he I think he was low on the corner there and got a little loose, which gave me my opportunity to get ahead. But I mean, I had one line that I was fast on this entire track, and that was the low line. So I as soon as Nick was able to back up any of the corners and get a run on me, I had nothing for him because he's just on a whole different level at this track, and I'm too stuck in the one groove that I'm actually decently fast at. And anytime I try and do the middle or the high grooves that Nick and Matt were running, they were a tenth faster than me anytime I tried to go up there. So I basically was stuck down at the bottom and couldn't do anything about it.
And that was something I noticed was there was a lot of drivers that really didn't want to run the top line. It seemed like tonight, a lot of drivers were kind of staying about that second groove pretty much. Was that a surprise to you? Because to me, it seemed like there's a lot of speed if you could keep the momentum built up on the top side. I kind of a few times I kind of thought once Nick got back by you, jump up top and try to kind of slingshot back around the top there. Instead, though, when you're running the low side, that's exactly where he was as well. And you kind of just then at that point you're just kind of being fed dirty air off the back of that 89 car. Was that the issue for you? Just you didn't feel like you had the speed that you wanted to up on the top groove?
Yeah, I just couldn't find the settings. I mean, I didn't give myself enough practice time, and I could not find the settings during the race to allow myself to carry the speed on the upper lines. As I said, anytime I tried anything and went up there, I'd end up losing a tenth or more. So finally, I just had to give it up and accept that I was racing for third.
So you definitely are. We've mentioned kind of a human calculator of sorts as far as trying to figure out fuel strategy through the race. Did you expect everyone to be able to go as far as they did on that first stint to basically ensure that it was going to be a two stop race strategy, or were you trying to try and stretch it even further to do a one stop even maybe?
The guys at the back, I mean, we all knew it was going to be a two stop. That it was just a matter of staying out long enough to avoid the potential pit entry, pit exit crash. That you didn't want to be the guy who was a lap down or more when a caution comes out during the pit cycle. But towards the back, it was starting to look closer and closer. Like it might have been possible, but it really didn't seem it. And then once the caution started falling, then it was just recalculating everything, knowing that we could make it 46 to 50ish laps depending on how you ran your maps.
Yeah, it was obviously it was a great run. Obviously, Craig. We got one more to go, so it's gonna obviously take a little bit of luck to I feel like to kind of get the break you need to try to get back up there for the championship next week at Indy. But I mean, it's been a good season. 3 wins overall this season. The two in a row at Kansas and then Spa, then finishing up at the win at Michigan with a really good finish last week. And I mean, another podium here tonight. I mean, it's been a good season. Is it one of those ones where it's like, oh, I could have done XYZ different, or is it just basically I've done everything I could and just Nick's just been ridiculous this season?
Well, Nick is always on a different level when it comes. I mean, when he's on, that's for sure. And I've had a couple of races where I've done my normal mistakes, but it hasn't been an awful season. It's just that Nick has been good and consistent in getting the points. So it's hard to capitalize when someone's on his A game all the time.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely difficult. We mentioned it's going to take, no mistakes and a lot of speed to get around the 89, but you still had a very successful season so far. I know you've been up here in the booth for an interview quite a few times, and it's always a pleasure to get a chance to interview you. And definitely want to say congratulations for that third place podium finish tonight. And do you want to give any thanks and shout outs for this evening?
Yeah, I got to thank. I mean, Jim had the bad luck there. I think he caught the apron and speared off into the walls. But it was looking it was going to be a good night for him and Dan, of course, and the whole 4D Racewear group. And I mean, you guys over at Green White Checker and everyone. I mean, the season's winding down. Looking forward to the startup of the next season. Get our driver numbers back up again and put on a good show for everyone.
All right, good deal. Again, that was Craig Forsyth for his third place finish here at Loudon. Thanks again, Craig, and good luck next week.
You bet, you guys. Stay safe.
All right, next up, we've got our second place finisher, a guy that's always fun to interview, I would say, and definitely a friend of the broadcast in that beautiful green-white checkered TV scheme. Matt Wagner here, second place tonight. Congratulations on a hard-earned battle. Definitely didn't seem like anybody had anything for Nick de Groot, but you were definitely the class of the field behind him for sure.
Yeah, it was a piss poor qualifying effort on my part. which put me back in the sixth spot, and I had a hard time coming through the field. And by the time I got to second place, Nick was in another dang zip code, and I was just praying for a caution. And once we got that caution, I thought I would have a chance, and I got beat out on pit road, probably due to admin duties. But it is what it is. So you can do what you got to do, and we had a chance with Nick at that final restart, and I ran my fastest lap of the race during that final segment. I finally found something, probably in the brake bias, and I started clicking off laps. And by the time I got to him, my tires were so worn, I had nothing for him because he had that clean air. There's nothing that you can do.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely obviously a tough one to pass out. I mean it's obviously a very flat track, so grooves are going to be at a premium. So you kind of have to figure out, okay, where do I need to position myself to run the fast laps, but where do I need to go when there's cars in the way, if you will. And you were one of the few drivers that really seemed to be comfortable running that pretty much that third, almost even fourth lane at times, and really keeping that momentum built up and just kind of swinging around the outside of some of those guys. Was that one of those things that you were able to find in practice, or was it something just as the race went on, you kind of were able to build up the confidence and find kind of what felt good to be able to run that top side to kind of make those moves on some of those guys to get some of those spots back?
When I tested the setup, I usually on iRacing here, and there's a great little feature. It's called the AI, and you can. I tried passing those cars on the outside, and it worked. And I said, "Heck, man, I'm going to put it to, to the race and see if it works." And it worked superb against Craig and Dan, and it was just great. And those guys would try to run that second seam, which is you're actually going to kill your momentum off the corner there, and you're going to have that run all the way at the top of the racetrack, and you're always going to have that all that big run going down the backstretch. And I was able to complete the pass. It was, man, I tell you, I wish I had another crack at it. I wish I would have pitted. Man, I kind of regret that. If I would have pitted, maybe I would have had a chance at Nick, but you never know.
I know that we kind of mentioned with Craig's interview as well, or well, excuse me, on the broadcast earlier, not in Craig's interview, but that it seemed like there really wasn't a lot of tire fall off at all. But you and Craig both started to fall off on that second to last restart after you had a very good surge to try and stay up with Nick. It seemed like that was more related to tire temperatures though than actual wear, because it seemed like once you
Oh yeah.
once
hmm
you it seemed like once you cooled them off under the yellow flag, you were still good to go after that.
Yeah. So these cars here, when you're on fresh tires, my thought process was, hey, I'm gonna have new tires. They're gonna be cold. Nick's gonna have a good launch because the tires are a little bit more warmer than mine, and he's gonna gain about like a second and a second and a half, and it's gonna be very hard for me to catch back up with the less tire fall off. So that was my mindset, and uh, I don't know. I kind of it'd be a flip of a coin, and I maybe I should have pitted. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe Nick will have better words for you.
Yeah, no worries. Well, it was definitely a great opportunity. It was fun to watch you rip the wall and try to do as much as you could to. I mean, like I said, you were the class of the field behind Nick DeGroot. Obviously, unfortunately, he was able to get the best of you tonight. But don't sell yourself short on that
Oh,
hard-earned
I'm
second
not.
place
Trust me.
tonight. And yeah, anyone you want to tell the world any thanks and shout outs you want to give for tonight?
I'm gonna kind of make up a funny here. I like to thank Nick's Dirty Air for keeping me back in second place. So, it's what it is, man. It's New Hampshire's a short track, and these cars are very aero effective. So, I like to thank all the guys in my Discord: William, oh God, Gary, uh, Peterson, all those guys, good friends of mine. Jeff, my teammate on the Lionheart side of things, and oh boy, I'd like to thank my parents for watching here on YouTube, and they don't. One time I'm gonna get them to message Gael and you guys and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they're
But
welcome
other
to.
than
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, you're fine. Just like some other guys on the Sunday series I'm used to talking to, and they're really good people. So I love this league. There's not much I can say. And, we did have a little bit shorter field than usual, but it's my guys, man. These are my dedicated guys, and I'm looking forward to next week. And last week is going to be the final week. Guys, take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you, Matt, giving himself his own sign off. That makes it easy for a broadcaster. We greatly appreciate Matt here at Green White Checkered TV. Obviously, one of the admins at Area 51 that always does a great job, and appreciate his efforts as he also races while he admins. So, and if his parents are watching, you guys are more than welcome to chime in. Would love to hear from you guys during the broadcasts. I know Matt always appreciates you guys watching, and we appreciate all of our viewers as well. But without further ado, we are going to bring up our race winner, the guy in maybe not even just a different area code, zip code, planet potentially. That was impressive tonight. You really, really had him covered tonight, Nick.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of wishing it went caution free there because I got a little scared on those reefs. It's got a little dicey with Craig and then Matt hounding me, but yeah, that was a night we needed. It's been since August since we won one of these. We've had a lot of ups and downs and really needed to just put one together, and that's exactly what we were able to do here in New Hampshire. It reminded me a bit of the Dover race earlier season where we started on pole there and just led a bunch of laps and was able to get away, and this is a bit like that. It was really nice to have that big lead and not really have to worry, especially going through lap traffic, just being able to take my time and everything. But of course, we get the yellow. They're not going to give it to you that easy. Gotta fight for it, and a fight it was there. I almost threw it away on that first restart because I turned off into turn one and I guess I forgot that I was on cold tires because I turned it in and expected to do something it did not want to do, and yeah, lost the lead there to Craig, and I thought that was it. I thought I wasn't gonna be able to get it back, but thankfully the tires weren't warm yet, and I was able to really fight them back there. We had a little back and forth battle, a couple laps, which was fun. After I was able to take the lead back, wasn't fun when I was in second, but yeah, it was a good battle, good race. Again, really needed that one.
Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, that race between you and Craig. I mean, that was some really good back and forth. He'd put a big move on you, you'd return the big move back, and so kind of the slide job back and forth. They're almost and then yeah, once you were able to kind of clear enough, then you kind of were able to run away and build that gap back up. But you mentioned the kind of Homestead 2.0. I mean, so the runaway there, but the risk there was the fuel mileage. Did you have any concern as you were building that gap up, or did you run enough laps in practice? Say, okay, I know there's no way these guys can kind of snooker me on a different strategy, pit stops than what I know I can do, or how was that for you tonight?
Yeah, I was thinking about it when Joseph was going really long, and I'm just keeping an eye on him. Like, okay, how many laps is he going to go here? And he was a few laps shy of, I think, being able to make it, but he did a really good job stretching the number. But yeah, I wasn't concerned after I saw him pick because I'm like, okay, I think we're all in the same boat here. It's spread out over like 10, 15 laps, but we're all in the same boat. It's going to be 2-stop race for everybody. And when those cautions came out, it's tempting to get those fresh tires, but with how much clean air was worth and just how I guess little fall off I was able to see, because later in the runs I was still running pretty fast laps if I had clean air. So yeah, I just did not want to give up that lead, and of course I feel like if I pitted, then a bunch of them would have stayed out. So so it's not like I would have restarted second. Would have probably been back fifth or sixth or wherever. But yeah, once I had that lead, which was from the get-go, I did not want to give that thing up.
Yeah, it's usually one of those things when you're the leader, whatever you do, unless it's a track where everyone needs tires or needs fuel, they're going to do the opposite just to try and, do something different. I know we mentioned a few times that no one was really going to beat you on pace. We didn't think so. Would have to be a different strategy, but it definitely Matt seemed to definitely Matt and Craig at a few times tried to seem like they gave you a little bit of a run there during those yellows that you mentioned, but yeah, it seemed like you pretty much had it covered, but it sounded like it was a lot of fun racing Craig Forsyth there, swapping back and forth.
Oh yeah, that was such a good little battle with the back and forth, and it really was slide jobs because even when you're all by yourself, these things were sliding off into the corners. So really just had to throw it in there. And the one time I tried that, I almost slid up into him out of turn two, and I had to really back off. And I'm like, okay, next time I do that, I'm not going to try to slide up in front of him. I'm just going to hug the bottom because I know it's better than the top. And we were able to hook that right along that little inside berm there that this track has, and he was up high enough that I was able to clear him off the corner. And once he got back to my inside, he wasn't really able to clear me. So yeah, that was really the game plan from that point onward. Just hold the top all the way through. And towards the end there, I think Matt had really good pace. I was watching him earlier. Once he got into second, he was able to really match my times when he wasn't in traffic and I wasn't in traffic. And towards the end there, he started chipping away and started bringing it down to 8-7. I even think he got to like 6/10. But I was talking to him. It was like you said, once you get that close, the dirty air and the tires start heating up, and there's really not much you can do at a place like this. It gets really hard to pass.
Yeah, for sure. So for two things, I know Matt Wagner actually so he stayed out with you on the second to last caution, and then on the last caution, and he also he actually ran some of his fastest laps after that pit stop of not taking tires. So after that, tires were able to cool back down, and he also thanked your dirty air for not in his interview for not being able to get around you. But all in all, sounds like it was a good battle tonight. A little bit of nervousness to make you earn it, but definitely a hard-earned, I believe, fourth win of the season and potential third championship in a row on the horizon for Nick DeGroot here. And want to give you the chance to tell the world who you'd like to thank for this win tonight at New Hampshire.
Yeah, I just got put together at Indy, and we love that place. So I'm really excited about that one. I'm glad to have it the finale again. I did not like last season going to Phoenix at the finale. That one made me nervous. But yeah, thank you to everybody at Factory Back Motorsports, Copenmore.com, Motorsport.com, Canvas Shoes, Cowboy Shit, DeGroot U-Haul Detailing. Everybody else who supports us, hoping we can end the season with a win here at Indy. And most of all, don't throw the championship away because we have a decent points lead, but we don't have it locked up yet. So got to be careful.
Yeah, I think it'll be over 25 points at this point. Not a math wizard and not entirely familiar with the points, but you came in with over a 20-point lead tonight, so definitely going to be comfortable, but need to seal the deal there. So we wish you the best of luck next week, and regardless, going to be excited to see how that race plays out and see if you can earn that championship.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Look forward to it.
All right, that was Nick DeGroot. It's actually been a little while since we've given him an interview. I believe it's been 3 or 4 races since he finished second behind Craig Forsyth a couple weeks ago, I believe at Kansas maybe? Or Kentucky, excuse me. I believe it's Kentucky. But anyway, it's been a while, and glad to see Nick back on the top of the leaderboard. Definitely been a great battle. Jeff Heisong has been doing everything he possibly can in the last few weeks to try and close that gap. Now, obviously, Nick, getting into championship form to try and finish strong and finish the season out. We got one more race to go at Indianapolis, and yeah, how much are you looking forward to that race next week there, Gael?
Oh man, I love Indianapolis. I mean, it's one of those races. Like I said, if you're gonna have an IndyCar race or a league, you obviously Indy is one of the ones that it's the race, and I do like that. I like it being the finale as well as because that way it's not just everything. It's you got to run hard and you want to get the win, and it's not all about the points. So you're gonna have to fight everybody there. So it'll be a lot of fun to see how it's going to go, and the strategy, of course, there as well. You can pit, you don't lose a lap right off the bat, so it opens up a lot of strategy as well for if you want to try to break the draft and kind of go on your own strategy, or do you find a teammate, kind of do that leapfrog strategy to bump up your race pace. So there's going to be a lot of decisions for these teammates to make. I'm sure we're going to get a handful more cars next week as well, because again, like I said, everybody just Indy is Indy. Like that's the best way I can describe it. So I expect to see a lot of cars, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun tonight, or next week, I should say. I'm sorry.
Definitely going to be a lot of fun for the battle for that championship to see it finish out. Going to take a chance here to pull up our race results. Obviously, you mentioned Nick DeGroot, Matt Wagner, and Craig Forsyth taking away those podium placings. Jeff Heisong able to finish in the 4th position, trying to mitigate as much of that points loss as possible to Nick DeGroot winning that race tonight. But good job by Jeff Heisong as well, just outside of the podium placings, and Dan Marrera also coming home with a top 5 finish. William Gunn finishing in the 6th position. He actually finished up 4 spots, so him and Matt Wagner were our hardest chargers for the evening. Jim Herrick finishing in 7th place, and Eric Peterson, after those issues for Jim and Eric, actually finishing in 7th and 8th. Gary Corley in 9th, and Joseph Morales unfortunately getting caught 3 laps down on that pit strategy where he tried to cut that middle stint quite a bit short, and unfortunately never really able to get his laps back. And Luis Gonzalez Nunez exiting the race a little early due to his troubles, and we also had Christian Alacio, who was not able to take to the grid after qualifying. So definitely a lot of fun here tonight at Loudon, and as Kyle mentioned, it's going to be pretty exciting to see what happens at Indy next week. And yeah, for now, that'll do it here for Tuesday nights at the Dark Horse Area 51 IndyCar Series on Green White Checker TV. Make sure you check out our other leagues that are broadcasted here for the Area 51 series. We've got on Thursday nights the Truck Series Super Speedway events. Definitely going to be a lot of action as they're in the middle of their playoffs trying to crown a championship over there. And another championship on Sunday nights in the Xfinity Series Stock Car Super Speedway Racing League at Area 51. So lots of action throughout the week. Make sure you tune in all week long here on Green White Checkered TV on YouTube. Always have a lot of fun with you, Guy Brooks, and glad to have you back in the booth this week. And it's going to be a lot of fun next week. Can't wait to crown a champion in all 3 series. And yeah, I think that'll pretty much do it for us. For myself, Boomer Logan, and for Guy Brooks, that'll do it. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.